that said, Ryan in the booth, let's cue up our interview with our first guest, Mr. Celente. I'd like to welcome to the show my next guest, Gerald Celente, who is the publisher of the TrendsJournal, and he has an outrageously excellent website called TrendsJournal.com. If you want to find out what's going to happen in the world, not just this year, but years ahead, he's like the modern-day Nostradamus. He's going to tell you where he thinks the market's going to go, what's going to happen in world politics, foreign affairs, everything that you could possibly think of, he has a pretty accurate opinion on. And with that said, I'd like to introduce and welcome to the show, Gerald Celente. Welcome, Gerald.
Well, thank you for having me, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Okay, I got a lot of questions, and we have so many emails that come in all the time from our listeners about when they think the financial collapse is going to happen. And we always get asked that question, what should we be on the lookout for? What are going to be some of the red flags that happen as it approaches? And I said, what better guest to discuss this and what else may be going on in 2014 and thereafter than you? So let's start. What do you see happening with the economy in 2014?
Well, timing is very difficult. You could have all the facts in place, and then they're doing things behind the scenes that you don't know. For example, who would have known that they were rigging the LIBOR rate, the interest rate, to the tune of hundreds of trillions of dollars? Who would have known they rigged the Forex market? That's the currency trading every day. And it's being rigged. Those are facts, not speculation. And then who would have believed that they would have come up with a scheme like quantitative easing? So things should have collapsed a while ago, but you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. So, be that as it may, here's our forecast for 2014. You saw what happened with the first round of tapering at the end of the year in 2013. All of a sudden, the 10-year bond went up over 3%. This has been nothing more than an interest rate recovery, period, paragraph. Historically low interest rates, flooding the market with cheap money, and that's been driving up the equity markets. Hey, Adam, you look like a nice guy. You want to buy a new car? Got one for you. 0 down, 0% interest rates. Hey, you don't have any credit rating? Don't worry about it. Call this number. We'll find a dealer near you where you could buy a car with 0% down, 0% interest rates. So you can see what's fueling the market. Same thing with housing. I bought some properties up here in Colonial Kingston, New York, a 1763 building, March, a year ago. They gave me a 15-year locked in at 2.875. Low interest rates. Okay, go back to tapering. We saw the bond is going up. We're looking now around the world. They kind of put this news out when nobody's paying attention. You go back to Christmas Eve. You pick up the Financial Times. Again, nobody's watching. Christmas Eve. Top front page story. Concerns mount over China cash squeeze. China's cash squeeze has worsened despite central banks' repeated attempts to calm the markets down with money injections. You keep going on. Hey, how about New Year's Eve when no one's paying any attention? Hey, why don't you pick up the Financial Times? See what they're saying. Well, here's what they said. Fears after key China debt level soars 70%. Pick up the Wall Street Journal. 40% interest rates. That's right, that's what they're paying in China from the so-called shadow banking because money's tightening up. Keep reading. Again, New Year's Eve when no one's paying attention. China says local level debt soars, stirring fear. Hey, what's another one? Hey, another one on New Year's Eve, son of a gun. China faces mounting local debt, Wall Street Journal. And then you pick up the news just from right yesterday, today, and tomorrow. China manufacturing index falls. So you can see what's going on. They're raising interest rates. When they raise interest rates, the markets go into panic. The only thing that is keeping this thing going, again, are low interest rates. So our forecast. The Fed tapered. You saw it happen to the 10-year bond. They're going to taper again, we believe, in mid-January. When they taper again, you're going to start seeing panic hit the markets. The only thing that's keeping this thing going, again, are record low interest rates. It's fueled the world equity markets. So, what are they going to do? We believe they're going to come up with another scheme to juice the global economy, whether it's China, European Central Bank, or the U.S. And when they do, you're going to start seeing gold and silver prices take off again, because there's no way that they could squeeze this credit, especially in China. You're looking at a GDP, debt to GDP of over 200%. Look what's going on over in Japan with Abenomics. They dumped trillions of yen into the system. What did it do? Hey, it boosted the stock market. Yeah, just like in the U.S., but how about the economy? Well, that's a different story. So even with them juicing the economy, the global economy is on slow. When they raise interest rates, it goes on stop and reverse.
So this is pretty alarming. I mean, when you consider that China, more than any other country, holds more of our debt notes, how does that impact us? I mean, if they're on the brink of having such, unmanageable interest rates, their economy's in trouble, are they going to start calling in the debt to us? And if we're really broke, how do we pay it?
Well, they're in a tight spot. That's why the dollar isn't crashing, because you have all of these weak currencies around the world, and so they're being forced to hold on to the U.S. debt. They have no choice. They can't cash it in, and so they're worried as well. They got a lot of bad debt, and what are they going to do? They have, and by the way, what China's greatest fear is? It's people. And they have problems. They got 1.2 billion people, and they got to keep this economy going along. And they're having difficulty doing it. You're just looking at it's the slowest growth now in like 15 years. And again, it's only being pumped up artificially. So no, it's a global crisis. And there's no way out as we see it, and that's why I'm bullish on gold and silver.
So with that said, like, for example, there's a lot of countries out there that are now no longer accepting the dollar. Supposedly Iran, if you want to do any oil deals with them, it's no dollars anymore. It's gold for oil, and that's it. And, what impact is that going to have?
Well, look at Iran. And that's, by the way, that's one of the reasons why we believe the Obama administration wants to make a deal with Iran, and that is so that they put more oil into the marketplace, and there's more investment opportunities. Look what's happening already. As the new year's beginning, oil prices are crashing, and we had forecast that. We're on record saying we were going to face lower oil prices because of the amount of new product on the market. And, again, the slowdown in China. China's the world's second largest user of oil. So it goes back to Tehran. And you're seeing international investors flocking there since the West is trying to reach this landmark deal over their controversial nuclear program. It all comes down to business. That's the bottom line. And with Iran putting more oil into the marketplace, with the United States economy slowing down, the first thing that the average consumer sees is, how much they're paying at the pump each week or each couple of days. And so with oil prices going down, that's good for retail sales because there's another angle to it. Obamacare is sapping the little extra cash that the average worker has to put into retail sales, just like it did when Obama lied. And I'm a political atheist, by the way. You could go over when Bush was president, Clinton, on and on. I don't believe in this. To me, they're the Bloods and the Crips. They're murderers and thieves. People like to call Democrats and Republicans.
I agree with you on that, as Jesse Ventura says in his well-written book. I say that at the start of all my show. I have no political affiliation. I am a political atheist. Call each issue as you see it based on the facts and circumstances and move on to the next.
Exactly. So as we're looking at Iran, it's only business. And going back to Obamacare, it's costing everybody in the middle class basically more money. And then when you look, I was talking about him lying during the campaign, saying that he wasn't going to raise taxes, and they raised payroll taxes. Who did it hurt? It hurt what was left of the middle class. How did that affect retail sales? Hey, Adam, try this one on for size. Remember all of the noise that they make for Black Friday. It kept going on and on, week after week. Hey, how come there's tepid reports, quiet reports over Christmas sales? I'll tell you why. Because they stink. But so that what I'm saying is, you saw the effects of raising payroll taxes, and now the administration is trying to keep oil prices down because Obamacare is sapping more dough out of the people's pockets. And here's the numbers. Median household incomes declined between 8.3 to 8.6% since 2008. Income has only increased in November 0.2%. They estimated it would increase about 0.5 to 1%. And then when you look at the month before, in October, it declined 0.1%. So going back, it's all about money. So going back to Iran, the deal is they need places to invest. They got to keep oil prices low, and so that's why we're looking at that.
So we all know that, since we're talking about Iran, we all know, unless you have your head buried in the sand, that all this war, everything that goes on over there is money-based, business-based. So, the military-industrial complex is just so huge and so powerful. People don't really understand or grasp it, but pretty much everything, whether it's Israel we're talking about, Syria, Iran, Libya, whatever's going on over there, is basically all money-driven. So what do we see going on in the Middle East in 2014 and beyond? Because there's so many questions about it. Are we going to go to war with Iran? Is it going to be a peaceful resolution? What's going to happen with Israel? What's going to happen with Syria, et cetera, et cetera? I mean, the list goes on and on. So what do you see?
Again, Iran, I see it becoming a new hot investment opportunity as they put money before anything else, and they try to lower oil prices. That's one of the reasons why the Saudis are so against this, because they control most of the oil production in the world. I mean, they're the largest producers, and they love it that Iran's not competing with them. Plus, of course, there's a tribal issue. One's Sunni, the Saudis, and the others are the Shia, the Iranians. And by the way, I'm sick and tired of hearing about the king of, Saudi Arabia. What am I, 6 years old with this king crap? Once upon a time he was a prince and they married a king and they had come on with this. He's a dictator. Can anybody handle that? And can anybody handle the fact that the United States has been propping up this dictator, and they hate him in Yemen, they hate him in Saudi Arabia, and that's one of the reasons why we had 9/11, if you believe that story? So anyway, moving forward.
It all goes back to money, Gerald.
It all goes back to money. So then we go to Libya. Oh, you remember that, our Nobel Peace Prize winner? What's his name? Barack Obama, the guy who's playing golf all the time. I figured he's going to be playing on the PGA after he leaves the White House. Anyway, he had that wonderful name for it, along with the three. I always love this line. If only the women were in charge. Oh, yeah. It's not a gender issue. It's a psychopath, sociopath. It doesn't make a difference if you're a man or a woman. Samantha Powers, Hillary Clinton, and Susan Rice. These were the three witches of Macbeth that pushed for the Libyan war. Or they didn't call it a war. They called it a humanitarian mission. And, in the words of the White House, a time-limited, scope-limited kinetic action. I love it. Who could make that up? Orwell couldn't have even come up with that one. Anyway, Libya is up for grabs. It's a civil war. And the people that the United States, once again, along with the UK and France, supported are the so-called Islamic fundamentalists, and they're not Islamic fundamentalists. They're a murderous group of maniacs. They're in control. Now you have Syria. The same sickos that Saudi Arabia is supporting over there are the same Muslim fundamentalists. So we're going to continue to see the civil war over there, and now it's moving into Lebanon, where Saudi Arabia, the king, just gave them $3 billion into Lebanon to help fight against Hezbollah. Now you move over and you go to see what's going on around Libya, around Nigeria, Algeria, and you have the Islamist, quote, fundamentalists that are destabilizing the area, moving into Mali. The French went in there. It's a losing cause. The French can't get over their colonial French Sudan trip, and it ain't working out really well. Then you look at what's going on in Central Africa, and not to forget Sudan and Somalia. And you keep moving around. You're seeing unrest in Yemen, Bahrain. Again, the entire Middle East is up for grabs. No one is going to attack Iran. Because if they attack Iran, it's the beginning of World War III. These aren't the Iraqis. These are the Persians. They're going nowhere, and they're not stupid, and they're not going to lose. They beat Iraq, everybody forgets, the only time they went to war in God knows how long, and that was inspired by the United States. You remember Donald Rumsfeld giving Saddam Hussein them golden spurs back in 1980 to attack Iran. They lost 1 million people and didn't give up 1 inch of land. So we don't see any war with Iran. Where we see problems really heating up is in the South China and East China Sea. And that has to go along with Japan. Why Japan? Japan under Abe has also gone into quantitative easing. They just come up with a different name, and they call it yen instead of dollars. Despite what he's done in dumping in the trillions of yen, the only thing it's done, as it's done in the United States and in Europe, is juice the equity markets. The country is still facing recession, and worse than that, they're facing a huge problem that they're going to try to get the people's minds off, I believe, by going to war or inflaming hot issues already, and that is what never makes the news anymore, Fukushima. Totally out of control. Totally out of control. If they have another...
I think that's one of the biggest cover-ups, I don't even know in how long, that the degree of the problems over there, and they're just getting worse, and it's escalating daily, and it's not even in the news anymore. You don't hear anything about it. I mean, other than you mentioning it just now, or maybe me a couple of weeks ago on my show, you have to search and hunt on the Internet to find out what's really going on over there, and it's not being reported. And that could be an earth-changing event.
It is already.
What could happen?
It is already. This is disaster that's out of control. They should put all these people up on murder charges because they lie every day. It's the greatest cover-up going on right now. And now imagine if they...
Is it safe? Is it safe to even eat seafood anymore?
I don't eat it. I don't eat it. Hey, how about a little sushi? Huh? You want to lighten up a little bit? There's some good radioactivity inside of you. I won't eat this stuff. I'm only speaking for myself. I read the reports that come out, and they're one deadly report after another. So what I'm saying is you're looking at the behavior of this lunatic, and by the way, they're all lunatics to me. They range between sociopaths and psychopaths. Read my lips, no new taxes. I didn't have sex with that woman, Monica Lewinsky. I smoked, but I didn't inhale. Saddam Hussein has weapons of mass destruction and ties to Al-Qaeda. If you like your plan, you can keep your plan. If you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. They lie every day. Hey, I'll tell you what, Adam, vote for me in 2012. We'll be out of Afghanistan by 2014. Whoops, I dropped the one. I meant 2024. So again, you're looking at this guy, Abiy, another lunatic. And what is he doing? I got an idea. You want to really get everybody angry in the area? You can't get over the World War II trip? How about going to that shrine where they say they have war criminals there that the South Koreans, the North Koreans, and the Chinese hate? You go there, you pay homage to them, Abiy, and also send your rest of your ministers. You want to get things riled up? That'll get the people's minds off Fukushima, and I believe there's going to be an incident between China and Japan, and I'll put my money on China. Because Japan's a has-been that never was, and they're not going to beat the Chinese. This is a whole new different world order, thanks to Bill Clinton and the rest of the political sellouts that gave all our jobs and technology to China. So they got the dough, and they have the wherewithal to fight, and nobody's going to push them around.
So are we to be looking out for some false flag event that's going to trigger some kind of war that's going to be out somewhere in that region that you're discussing? Should we be on the lookout for this?
Of course we should be. False flag are real. I mean, remember, Japan's the one provoking this, but the press only puts it out when the Chinese counter. And here's the real. Oh, you had Ketchup King Kerry over there. I call him Ketchup King because he married the heiress to the Heinz fortune, which is bought out by Brazil and what's his name over there, Buffett. And by the way, the other term I never use anymore is globalization. It's multinationalization. It's all this is. It's about business.
It's right.
So going back, yeah, it's multinational. Yeah, it's a takeover. But anyway, Kerry just came back from the Philippines, and they're talking about putting more U.S. troops there. And then the United States just did another dirty deal with Okinawa, and we're building another base. They're moving it from one place to another, and we're also putting troops into Australia. So you can see, and here's the deal, and I want to make this clear to everybody listening. I am totally against what the judges are doing by robbing our rights and ruling that the NSA is legal. I love that term. Hitler could have used legal, too, as he did with his fake treasonous judges, as are these. And I'm sick and tired of my money going overseas to foreign countries when they don't have enough money to bail out Detroit. And I am a believer in the Constitution and what this country was founded upon. So I'll go along with Washington, I'll go along with Madison, and I'll go along with Adams and Franklin. I'm not going along with Obama, Bush, or Clinton, or the rest of these sociopaths and psychopaths, Boner, McConnell, Pelosi, Not So Feinstein, and the rest of them. Read. They're all sellouts to America. They are treasonous in destroying our Constitution and our Bill of Rights. No foreign entanglements. And not one of these little men or women are the ones that go fight. They only send other people's kids to go do it as they wave their flags and they rob us of our rights. So if you want to restore America, it's really simple. Restore the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. We won't be overseas. We won't have our nose in other people's business. And I am not a Monday morning quarterback. I'm the guy that coined the term Crusades 2000 in 1993 and warned 9 months before 9/11 that Americans wouldn't be safe at home or abroad. And no one has the courage to speak out and say why they hate us. No, little boys and girls, not because of what George Bush said. They hate us because of our freedom and liberty. They hate us because we prop up dictators in their countries, rob them of their natural resources, and put our nose in other people's business when our nose should only be at home.
Well, that's very well said. I can't say how many times I've said on this show that we're in fights that we don't belong in, and our rights are just being stripped before our eyes. I mean, the NSA it's just mind-boggling that it's allowed to go on, that more people aren't protesting in the streets about this. But what about the NDAA? What about that? You want to talk about that for a second? I'm sure that's got to have your rile up as well.
Well, of course. I remember when Obama signed the first one back in 2011. Again, he did it on New Year's Eve when nobody was watching. So they could take you or me or anybody and call us a terrorist. We have no judge, no jury, no trial, no writs of habeas corpus. And they could torture us. I believe that these judges are treasonous. Who are they? Who are these people? I mean, what are they? They're a bunch of political hacks. Let's get this straight. The only way this country is going to change is by dismantling the corrupt political parties, Democrats and Republicans. They're Bloods and the Crips. They're murderers. How many more drone attacks do you need? How many more wars do they have to start? And they're thieves. Hey, isn't it wonderful? Fiat just bought out Chrysler. Oh, yeah, you remember Chrysler that we the people gave? We lost $1.5 billion on the deal. And that's the merger of state and corporate powers, bailing out private corporations and giving too big to fail our money. The merger of state and corporate powers is called fascism. And fascism has come to America. Why aren't people protesting? Because when you go out to the streets, the cops have become the enforcers for the crime bosses, the political hacks that they work for and the institutions that they protect. Look what the police have done to this country. It's a disgrace.
How do we turn this around? Do we support a guy like Jesse Ventura? I've had him on the show. I've endorsed him on my show.
Yeah, I would support Jesse Ventura, but I won't support a Republican or Democratic Party. It's kiddie talk to think that it's going to change with the mafia in control. I don't care who it is.
Jesse, when he was on the show, and I like your thoughts on this, you know, we need to get people with no political affiliations running, individuals, get back to the way it used to be when this country was first founded, when people really cared about their rights and wanted to protect their rights. And now it doesn't make a difference. I mean, anyone out there that really thinks there's a difference between Democrats and Republicans or so-called, Tea Party people or whatever party they say they're part of, it's all one whole group that just get behind closed doors, have drinks, smoke their cigars, laugh at everybody, because it's the 99% versus the very elite 1%. And that's the reality of how it is. But how do we change this? I asked Jesse, even if you were to run and we got some great movement going and we could get you elected, you're still dealing with a Congress that's run by the Democrats and Republicans. It's going to take a lot more than just one person, even in the presidential seat. So what do we do?
You need a new party. Look what happened in India. If it could happen in India, it could happen in the United States. They just had an election in Delhi, made the biggest city, the Common Man Party, out of nowhere. Out of nowhere. Look what's going on in Italy with the pitchfork movement. And the police in Italy stopped protecting the politicians and the institutions. It has to be a grassroots movement. And I agree with you 100%. If you belong to a Democratic or Republican Party, you have no place running for office. You are already a member of a special interest group. They should be banned from it. You should have non-affiliates. It was Adams' greatest fear in Madison's that this would happen, and it happened.
Well, one of my favorite political cartoons I saw was a picture of Congress, and it had the names of all where the different senators or people from the House of Reps should be sitting in their spot. But instead of it being the actual elected officials, it was the name of all the corporate sponsors they had in each seat, which couldn't be, more dead on, because it's corporations, it's rich companies, it's very elite, powerful running this entire country. And you think that the people that we elect to the Senate, to the House, the president, they're not calling any shots. They're just doing what their special interest groups and what the money tells them to do. Period. It's that simple. But most people don't seem to get that, and it's sad.
And it doesn't take most people. If it could be 20%, it will change everything. And the people are pretty disgusted. When you look at the rankings of what they feel about Congress and the president, they're at all-time lows. The time is now. The vacuum has never been wider. It's up to the individual. It starts locally. It's a grassroots movement. There can be a guy like Jesse Ventura, but we need a new party. He can. I agree. And I'll tell you what. And I'll tell you what else I'm
okay, everybody. That was the first part of my interview with the one and only founder and publisher of TrendsJournal and www.trendsjournal.com, Gerald Celente. He's called it all. He's probably the modern-day Nostradamus of our time in terms of predicting trends.